Good morning, everybody. Well, we got a rainy, stormy, early morning here Saturday at South Florida. I don't know where you're watching or where you're listening, but it's pretty wet out there. That's usually I hear a lot of exaggeration by how these storms are going to be, but this is really a wet one, and it was kind of exciting driving to the studio. They turned the elevators off, so I guess no one would get stuck in the elevator. But it was only on we're only on the second floor. For some of us go to the third floor. But here we are, and another exciting day, Saturday, I should say. We're all pumped up. We're ready to tell you how you can avoid being ripped off by your local car dealers. We're getting into an atmosphere and a culture today where people are becoming more and more sensitive about buying cars, mainly because it was always a chore, it was always a challenge, and of course, as you know, car prices are off the chart. Whether you want to buy a new, whether you want to buy used, luxury cars, lower price cars, everything costs way more. Production's off, supply is way down, demand is way up, and here we are. It's a seller's feeding frenzy. Car dealers are just getting fat and happy, and the auto manufacturers, think about it. You can sell fewer cars and make more money. You don't have to work as hard because you don't have as much product to sell, but there seems to be no limit on the price. Car dealers are charging thousands, literally thousands of dollars. $10,000. We've mystery shop dealers that are charging $10,000 over a sticker. So what should you do? Well, you should listen to this show for as long as you can. We're on for 2 hours, and kind of check in and out if you can't stay with us for the full 2 hours, which we understand. And you can text us, or you can email us. Well, don't email us. We check the emails very last. You can email us, but you can text us at 772-497-6530. That's area code 772-497-6530. But call us. That's our fun way to contact us. We prioritize our telephone calls, and that telephone number, if you can write it down, that'd be cool, because you probably don't want to call us right this minute. If you do, call us. We prioritize. If you call on the audio phone, we call it 877-960-9960. That's area code 877-960-9960. Phone rings. Well, it doesn't ring in the studio here, but Nancy Stewart, my co-host, sitting just to my left, she's got a laptop right there in front of her, and that's where she sees the call, sees your name, and knows you're waiting, and we try to stop whatever we're doing and get to those phone calls. 877-960-9960. We'd like to hear your opinion just about anything automotive. We'd like to hear what you think about the pricing situation. Unprecedented. I've been a car dealer since late 1960s, if you can believe that. I've never seen anything like this. I've never seen, back in the day, 3 years ago, if a car dealer sold the car at MSRP, he had a party. It was a high five, bonus to salesman. Hey, did you hear what happened? We sold Mrs. Jones a car at sticker.
Full pop.
Full pop, that's right, full pop. Slam dunk, some of us call it. Today, you can't buy one that low priced. You got me. You can't find a car as low as MSRP. The dealers are marking it up. It's become the new, how much over MSRP do we sell it? They look at the MSRP and say, do we sell it for $3,000, $5,000, $10,000? There are cases of these cars going for $20,000, $30,000 over MSRP. A lot of money out there in the economy.
The car dealers got tired of saying, how low can we go?
Exactly.
Now it's how high can we fly?
It's how high. And the money that is being made has made the automobile dealership so desirable. Now, this could be a good thing. So desirable, there are a lot of people saying, I want a car dealership. What I'm doing now, nobody can make as much money than if they have a car dealership. And so they're buying up car dealerships. There are people, the fat cats, the guys
that are richer than car dealers.
The billionaires, and the large auto groups are buying up. And the price paid for car dealerships is off the chart. It's twice as much as it was a couple of years ago. I mean, think about it. I mean, the value in terms of return on investment. So it's dangerous out there, folks. My advice to you is don't buy a car. Yes, I'm a car dealer. Yes, I do have a car dealership, and I am in that business. But I've got my consumer hat on now. In fact, I found my hat.
Who found it?
My vigilante hat.
Credit.
Nancy
credit
found
is
my
due.
hat.
Thank you.
And that's a real knee slapper. Yeah. and I'm going to be a
can't find
consumer
That's
advocate
what
and
I'm
not
here
a car dealer right now. I'm going to tell you, don't buy a car, used car or new car. If you wait, you can buy the car for a lot less. If you have to buy a car, then listen to the rest of the show, and we will give you all the tricks of the trade. Being a car dealer, I've been there. I started out doing it the wrong way, bait and switch advertising, deceptive sales practices. I mean, get them in a car, deliver the car, make as much money as you can on the financing, make as much money you can on the accessories you add to the car, throw those hidden fees in there. The dealers call them dealer fees when they're talking to each other. Whether we're talking to you, they call them everything they can think of, so you don't know what it really is, a hidden fee. Electronic filing fee, dealer prep fee, administrative fee, tag agency fee. They got a million names for a hidden profit that they pop on after the advertised price, after the quoted price. So listen, if you have to buy a car, if you don't have to buy a car, relax, do something else, go to a movie, and wait a few months and check the prices.
There's some good movies out there right now.
There's some good movies out there, exactly. So
Go see Doctor Strange.
we have some other ways to reach us and ways that you can find us on cyberspace. That's facebook.com/Earl on Cars. Facebook.com/Earl on Cars. And of course, YouTube. YouTube.com/Earl on Cars. And our blog, guess what that is? www.earloncars.com. Earloncars.com. On earloncars.com, by the way, you don't even have to be here and watch us. You can go back. We have all our shows archived. We have podcasts of the highlights of our shows. We'll be showing a podcast a little later that is particularly appropriate. But you can see on YouTube, you can see advice on just about anything. We take snippets of shows where a customer calls or texts us or however they contact the show, and an issue comes up, and the issue gets answered by Rick Kearney or Nancy Stewart, Sue Stewart, or myself. We answer the question. And when it's a particularly interesting question, a particularly good answer, we snip it out, put it on a video on YouTube, and there's just a huge library out there. There's not a day goes by we don't get people thanking us for finding solutions to their automotive problems on our YouTube or the regular podcast or whatever. So here we are. I'm going to go around the table here. I always get carried away about buying cars. I forget about repairing and maintaining cars, which is especially today when I tell you don't buy a car. Well, if you don't buy a car, you better maintain it. And if you're going to maintain it or repair it to keep it, you got to know what you're doing. Rick Kearney, sitting to my right, can answer all those questions. You can't throw a curveball, a fastball, a spitball. You can't get it by Rick. He will knock it out of the park. Ask him what your problem is, diagnose it, tell you about how much it's going to cost, where you should take it, or can you do it yourself. If you can describe it to him, that'd be great. Even better if you can find an audio clip, or if you have an audio clip already, or make one, or a video clip of the problem. There's nothing like seeing and hearing to allow a good diagnostician to give you the right answer. So Rick Kearney, certified master diagnostic technician, this guy can solve your problems. Don't take it into the car dealer. Don't take it into the independent repair place. Don't go to Pep Boys or Firestone or Sears or wherever else they go. You get to your car fix, Goodyear. Don't go there. Call Rick first and text him. YouTube.com, if you go to youtube.com/Rolling Cars, Rick is monitoring that right now. And so he'll know about it before I know about it. And he'll wave at me and I'll say, hey, Rick, what is it? And he will read your name and your post and answer your question. So Rick Kearney. And then next to Rick is Stu Stewart. He's my son, general manager of Earl Stewart Toyota. That's the dealership that we've had since 1975. And so we're hands-on. That's the reason we can give you better advice, because we're out there in the real world selling cars, repairing cars, and maintaining cars, and we know what the competition's doing. I mean, even if we didn't do this show, we want to know what the competition's doing, and we really know what they're doing because, mainly, our mystery shopping report. Stu is the guy that engineers that. He selects the mystery shopper, he designates the target, he tells the mystery shopper what we're looking for, depending. I mean, sometimes we're looking for, whether they're going to add hidden fees, whether they're going to have crazy addendums, whether they're going to tell you about a recall. We haven't talked about recalls in a long time. Can I buy a used car with a dangerous recall from a dealer, and he won't even mention it to me? We found that answer many times. So we'll go to Rick, then we'll go to Stu, and then, of course, Nancy Stewart. She's my co-host. She helped me start this show almost 20 years ago when we were only half an hour on a little radio station called Seaview, and we have bloomed and blossomed into what we are today. 2 hours, and we've got a really good following, got a very great rating out there, and we have people all over the country and the world listening to Earl on Cars. So I'll turn the mic over to Nancy Stewart, and she'll tell you about a very special offer, very special, a no strings attached offer for you ladies. She is a female advocate, the best when it comes to buying a car. And so if you'll call the show, and you haven't called the show before, she's got a doozy of a surprise. Nancy?
Good morning, everyone, and welcome. Thank you for tuning in to Earl Stewart on Cars. And may I remind you, as Earl did when he opened, have things changed? They have changed rapidly with respect to buying, leasing, maintaining your vehicle. In the past 3 years, the world is upside down, so buyer beware. And in the automotive news, to add to that, on page 12, weak fines do little to deter bad behavior. Crime and punishment doesn't always stay top in mind in a complex industry, but perhaps it should. I'm sure that you can probably use your imagination and know what the rest of the article reads. Anyway, buyer beware. Ladies, this morning, as always, I have $50 for the first two new lady callers. And did you consider before you went into the dealership or even began to shop for your car, did you consider your lifestyle, driving habits, financial situation, narrowing down the search? It certainly helps, and it gives you the edge when you walk into the dealership because you're well informed. So $50 for the first two new lady callers this morning. Give me a call at 877-960-9960. And for all you others, you can text us at 772-497-6530. Don't forget your anonymousfeedback.com. We're going to go straight to the phones where Howard's been holding. Good morning, Howard.
Good morning, Nancy, and everybody. Hope you all are fine after the weather that we just had. And I'm sure we're going to have other bad weather, but we have to, just keep an upper lip and live with it. I think I could stump Rick on this service. Rick, you ready?
Absolutely.
Okay. What service is not performed anymore, and the service writer will never tell you about? You used to be performed, let's say, 15 years ago. It's not a carburetor. It has nothing to do with carburetors. It's still on the car today. You know what service that is?
Oh, I could probably name about 50, but there's EGR cleaning, the positive crankcase valve.
You got it.
No, the PCV
Rick,
valve.
You're amazing. It is. You just hit it.
Yeah.
The second one. Positive crankcase ventilation valves never checked. And you hit the nail on the head. But why?
Because they've changed the technology on those valves now, and they don't carbon up like they used to. Excuse me. Basically, what these valves did is all the gases that would build up in the crankcase of the engine, these valves would allow that gas to be very slowly released back into the intake system, so the vapors from the oil and any fuel vapors that would get past the rings would then be sent back into the engine to be burned through the air intake system. But PCV valves now have evolved to the point which they don't have the little moving ball in it anymore. It's simply a Venturi effect, and it used to be they were susceptible to carbon buildup and oil fouling, and they would close up. Well, they've changed the design enough now, and they've designed the system to where it actually works the way it's supposed to work, and they don't even need to be serviced anymore. The gases flow through, they go right burned into the engine, and it's finally a system that works.
It's amazing. In other words, it's there for the life of the car.
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay. What other service should be performed that is never performed, at least, every 20,000 miles? And because the service was not performed, because I didn't do it, I had a problem. I was going to the Poconos, and Nancy knows where the Poconos are.
I do.
I'm in New York now, and I'm taking a trip to the Poconos. And
Yeah, that's where the triangle is.
and anyway, I couldn't open my trunk. I grabbed the latch, I pressed on it, didn't open. I tried to press at the beginning where it first could grab it, pushed it up, didn't happen. So I drove to the Poconos, and fortunately, my son-in-law has a place there, and he's very knowledgeable. And what he did, he stuck his finger all the way to the end of the latch and was able to get it up, open the hood, and then what he had to do is WD-40, sprayed it, and then he said, put lithium grease on it, and it'll never happen again.
Yep.
So that's what I did, and so why don't service writers say to tell people we have to check the latches and the hood latch and the hinges, door hinges, and everything? It's never done. Am I correct?
Well, that's more of a northern thing. South Florida, the environment down here is very different. So a lot of the things that northern cars experience issues with, we don't have those same issues. Once you lubricate a latch in South Florida, unless you live right near the ocean where you're getting that constant abuse of salt air spray, they really don't have too many issues. It's almost non-existent for us to replace latches for doors or for the hood or trunk.
What about that little spring? That's in the latch. Does that have to be replaced?
Very rarely.
Okay. So I live in the bluffs, right near the ocean. So that's why it probably affected me. And I only drive up to New York in May. So the weather has nothing to do with me, but it's because I live next to the ocean. You're saying that I have this problem. Is that correct?
Yeah, cars that live right near the salt water, that salt air is very, very aggressively corrosive on the cars, and it seeps into different places, and it can wreak havoc. Anyone that lives near the ocean, like Mr. Stewart lives pretty close to salt water, I always recommend keep your car in a garage where it's protected away from that salt air.
Well, what I do when I wash down my car, I spray the brakes. I give it a nice shot of water right in the brakes.
Yep.
Because I know a friend of mine never did that, and he had a big problem.
Yep.
And there's nothing you can do about it. Just keep on top of the situation.
Absolutely, Howard. You're sharing a lot of knowledge with us Northerners, and sometimes we forget the environment we're in. Thank you so much for calling Earl Stewart on Cars. We love hearing from you. Have a wonderful, safe weekend.
You too. Bye.
We're going to go to Phil, and Phil is calling us from Jupiter. He, too, is a regular. Good morning, Phil.
Good morning. I'm glad you all made it in with your Tesla this morning.
Oh, thank you.
Does that drive good in bad weather?
Yeah, well, it performs as good as a combustion engine car. I don't have any problems with it at all.
Okay, yeah, what I wanted to ask you is, I got a 2017 Prius, and this is probably a Rick question. When it's cold and I push the start button and have my foot on the brake, sometimes I'll hear a little squeal noise, and then it'll go away, and then it might not do it for a couple days, and then it'll do it again.
It's got
So,
a
Rick,
mouse.
would you have any think what this may be?
Well, Stu says you have a mouse.
No, squeal.
Yeah.
Sorry,
I got
Possum.
you, Stu.
Squeal noise.
Let's see, 2017. So you do not have the electric parking brake. What you might actually be hearing is the electric motor for the steering wheel lock. If you're hearing it right inside near the steering column, if it sounds like it's coming from the dash in that area, it may be if your steering wheel has gotten in the lock position. You know how when you park a car, if you turn your wheel, it'll lock the wheel. If it's up against the lock and kind of tight, got a little tension on it, when the electric motor releases that steering wheel lock, it may make a little bit of noise.
You know, Phil, this is Earl. One thing you might do to save yourself a trip is take your smartphone, put it on record that noise, send it to Rick Kearney or wherever you want to have the car repaired, and they can diagnose it on the phone. It's so cool now. We have that ability now to capture the exact noise instead of have to describe it. Describing a noise, a lot is lost in the translation.
Oh, you mean call in and not even go down there, but call in?
Yeah, well, you could just call the service department and say, I have a problem with my car. I have a noise. I'd like to send an audio clip. If you let your technician listen to it, and it's something serious, I'd like to bring it in. If it's nothing to worry about, then it'll save me a trip.
That's a fantastic idea.
Yeah, I didn't even know y'all did anything like that. That's a great idea.
And video also, sometimes you have things that you're looking at. You know, we human beings aren't always really good at describing, and people that you're describing it to aren't good at interpreting. So when two people are talking to each other, you'd be surprised the misdiagnoses we get. But if you see it or you hear it, 99% of the time you get an accurate diagnosis.
Well, I guarantee you, it could work. It could be every day it happens, but the minute I come into a dealer, it won't do it. It's just so freaky the way that happens.
Well, send it to
Yep.
Rick. Yeah, Rick can give his email address, and you could email it to him.
Oh, okay. All right.
It's
What is his email?
Rick K, RICK at estoyota.com.
ESToyota.com.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Well, listen, I really appreciate that. I never thought I'd do anything like that.
Oh, you're welcome, Phil. We're living in
Okay,
the
thank you.
21st century. Technology is at our fingertips, making it a lot easier for you. Thank you so much for the call.
Okay. Thank you.
Have a great weekend. We're going to go to Tony, who's calling from West Palm Beach. Good morning, Tony.
Tony, we got you out there?
Okay, while we're holding for Tony, I want to remind everyone that you can subscribe to Earl Stewart on Cars podcast using any of the following podcast apps from your iPhone or your Android: Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcast, Amazon Music, Stitcher Radio, and SoundCloud app. Take advantage of that also. Our number again is 877-960-9960. You can text us 772-497-6530. Don't forget, ladies, give us a call, say hi, win yourself $50. First 2 new lady callers, $50. Take advantage. We're going to go back to the recovering car dealer.
You know, when Howard was on the phone, I thought of something I've mentioned often on the show, and that is the low maintenance requirements of today's vehicles. I mean, we're headed almost to a zero maintenance level when we hit electric vehicles and autonomous electric vehicles in the future. But a lot of us, you know, my age and you know, people that grew up with normal cars. I mean, you know, where you had the carburetors and you had all the things that had to be watched and taken care of. The maintenance was very high, and the items that you had to fix. You heard Rick earlier in the show, if you were tuned in, talk about the PCV valve. Well, you don't have to touch it anymore. Used to be, it was a regular maintenance item. Now, if you haven't read your owner's manual, and that applies to virtually everybody listening, including me, I don't read owner's manuals, but you should read your owner's manual when it comes to maintenance and repair. I'm going to finish my train of thought because I think we have a caller, and Nancy will introduce him.
Yes, I will. Hi, John. John's calling us from Palm City. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you guys for venturing out in this rough weather today. We're so happy that you're here to educate us.
Thank you.
I have some questions for Rick. We already started the hurricane season, and for an automobile in Florida especially, that's kept outside, not in the garage, not in a carport. Probably a carport is not recommended, especially if it's a metal carport, and the metal can deteriorate and go on the car. But for Rick, I want to ask him a question. Is recommended if the car is outdoors and a hurricane is forecast, what about setting the emergency brake? Is that a good idea or not?
Yeah, it can't hurt.
Okay. What about a second thing is to take a waterproof, the cover on the outside of it is a waste, but open up the hood and take in a waterproof cover and cover the entire engine area? Would that be a good suggestion also?
I don't see where it'd even be necessary. Pretty much everything under the hood is as waterproofed as it needs to be for anything except for if you were actually driving and went into deep water.
Yeah, the top of it's waterproof, the bottom.
Right. Unless you actually had water come up so deep into the car that it was literally up to dashboard level, and at that point, putting anything over top of that engine is not going to help it. So, you know, if you're in a flood situation like that, there's really nothing you're going to do except to park the car on the highest point of ground you can.
In other words, today's ignition system is completely waterproof, that you don't have to worry about covering anything on it, right?
Oh, yeah. They're completely sealed up.
Okay. If there are any other suggestions that you could say offhand that'll help people that have their cars outdoors during
Yes.
the hurricane?
Yes.
Other than afterwards, waxing it, you have to have wax on it because even though you're not on the ocean, the hurricane winds have salt automatically in it. But can you suggest anything else to protect the car?
Yeah, the absolute number one thing, all those cans of gasoline that you fill up for your generator and then you wind up suddenly not needing them, unless you have made absolutely certain that those cans have been stored in a protected, well-ventilated area, that there's no chance of contamination, don't pour it in your gas tank. If you think those fuel cans might have gotten contaminated by water or something else, don't put it in your engine, because you pour that in your car and you could wind up with a cost of thousands of dollars getting that situation fixed if, say, one of those cans has got a bunch of water in it. So when you fill up those fuel cans, if you don't use it for your lawnmower or something like that. But if it gets contaminated, don't put it in your car.
Very good suggestion. Just for a minute, can I take out time out to mention the Stewart family's favorite automobiles, other than the Tesla, which is current? On Monday was a show. It's on Monday, Fox Business, Cars We Love. Nancy Stewart should sit down for this one. What did they feature? People were looked all over the country for a 65 Plymouth Barracuda.
I knew that was coming.
Stored it for their dad, because their dad's in car business, and it's a car he used to own. And it was a very interesting. I even got educated. I didn't know the Barracuda had a velvet interior in it when it was new. It must have been an option. And then the second thing is Earl's 57 Pontiac, which is his first brand new car. Very rare automobile.
That was on there?
In April, there was two of them for sale, with Bonneville convertible with fuel injection, and there was only 30 of them made. So I just
boy.
want to mention a little nostalgia.
Oh, boy. We feel warm and fuzzy. Thank you so much, John.
Thanks, John.
You feel as fuzzy as that velvet
All
in that
right, guys.
Barracuda.
Thank you again for coming out today.
Thank you very much.
Have a great weekend. Stay safe.
Thank you.
Our phone number here is 877. You're a real comedians too.
Did you have velvet in yours? Of course you did.
Probably 877-960-9960, or you can text us at 772-497-6530. And please, any questions, anything at all, Rick has plenty up
Yeah.
there on his PC.
Well, we've got one anyways from Darwin Tenorio. Says, good morning. I'm shopping for a minivan after my wife got into an accident and totaled her car. Been shopping around Georgia, where I'm from, and other states, but all of them are asking from $5,000 markup. I just need some help.
Well, it's if you heard my introduction, my live introduction, I said don't buy a car today. Don't buy a car in this market. I think you can probably do better than the $5,000 markup. You can let your fingers do your walking for you on a keyboard, smartphone, and just get online and start looking around. You're going to have to really nail the person down. If you order the car, if you can wait to order the car, you can get a better price. If the car is in stock, that's really going to be a battle to get them down. But even in today's market, one beauty that you have is be able to shop far many more dealers of that make. And you know, how many do you want to shop? If you want to shop Toyota dealers, there's 1,300 Toyota dealers. You could literally shop 1,300 Toyota. If you did it online, you could probably do it in a couple days. So you have the luxury of being able to go out and get the lowest price. TrueCar is a good source because they give you a bell curve of the actual transaction prices on cars. But take your time. Instead of $10,000, you'll buy it for $6,000. You're still going to get hosed in today's market. That's my answer. Do we have any phone calls?
We do not. Stu, do we have
Well,
any texts?
let me continue my train of thought here, just quickly on this maintenance thing.
Sure.
My point being, the early caller Howard, about the fact that PCV valves and they don't have to be maintained or checked anymore. Know your owner's manual. If you don't read anything else in your owner's manual, and I don't, I mean, I know you don't either. Find the required maintenance. Look at the required maintenance that your manufacturer of your automobile said should be done. And that's all you want to do. You'll be amazed at how little it is. The amount of maintenance on a new car today for the first 3 years is almost negligible. And so, I mean, I'm talking a few $100s maybe. So car dealers can't live on that. So when you go into a car dealership or you go into an independent mechanic, they need to make money. And today's cars don't afford them that opportunity, so they make up stuff. Like they might even tell you to have your PCV valve serviced, and you don't need to have your PCV valve, or maybe your transmission fluid changed, or maybe a flush. They come up with some very creative things that they sell you that you don't need. If it's not on your owner's manual recommended list, don't pay for it.
Great information. Rick?
As a matter of fact, Kirk in West by God, Virginia, he says, in the future, as we move to EVs, electric vehicles, relatively maintenance-free, how does the dealership stay viable? If you assume dealerships get 70% plus of their income stream comes from the service department, how does the change to stay profitable? And he finishes off with YAA.
Well, YAA, that's
Right.
They're going to rent out their service departments for parties and events, like weddings.
no, the truth of the matter is, in fact, I was interviewed by CNBC a week ago, and that was really the focus of the article or the piece that they're going to do. Is what's the future of the retail automobile dealership? And simply speaking, the future is very nil. I mean, I'm a car dealer. We're a family dealership. My sons are in the business. My wife, and there are even grandchildren out there. But the fact of the matter is, the grandchildren won't be in the car business because there will not be retail automobile dealerships as we know them today. Likely, and I know the dealers hate me for saying this, likely manufacturers will be going direct selling just like Tesla does, like Elon Musk. They hated Elon Musk. The manufacturers don't like him. The dealers don't like him. The only people that love him are his buyers, his owners, and he's making them an incredible success of a whole new concept, not just in electric cars, but in the way they're retailed. So the future for automobile dealers is very bleak.
Some interesting information that I learned this weekend, or this week. 5 years ago, the world experienced peaked internal combustion engines. As far as the production of them, the sales of them, it was the highest it ever was 5 years ago. And electric vehicles have increased in percentage in a sense. It's still a small percentage, but if you look at the graph, it's pretty striking. You see gas engine peak about 5 years ago, and then on the bar graph, you see the electric vehicles getting bigger and bigger. And this year, we're attaining another milestone, and that is when the world's fleet of vehicles will peak with gas cars. So slowly, because right now the fleet lags sales. So as cars get destroyed and all that, right now the world is seeing an increasing amount of electric cars and a decreasing amount of gas cars in existence.
Interesting.
And that trend will continue in perpetuity until there's none.
Rick just mentioned to me before the show started that in San Francisco today you can get an autonomous taxi without a driver.
Yep.
And you fly into San Francisco, and I guess you get on your smartphone and you hit the right app, and a driverless vehicle pulls up.
Yeah.
You hop in the back seat and you say, "Take me to the CVS or wherever you want to go."
And the charging information that you shared with us this morning, it's just all totally amazing.
Take me to the nearest bar.
All right.
The world
Take me
is
to all the
changing.
bars.
And
It definitely is.
In San Francisco, they've been used to for years seeing autonomous cars because it's right there near Silicon Valley. So they test they're all testing them in San Francisco, but they've always had a driver on hand in case something went wrong. And now this is going to be like
think of all you heavy drinkers out there in San Francisco. Think this is nirvana.
Well, you could have done it with a driver with taxi too.
You can be drunk and get in the cab, get drunker, and get back in the cab and come home safely.
Without,
Are they allowed to throw up
no.
in the cab?
I don't know.
Any throwing up?
In Chicago, there are signs there's a vomit fee in the taxi cab.
There you go.
The
Yeah, we're
airport.
getting a little
There are
graphic
blind
here.
junk feeds all over the place. 877-960-9960, or you can text us at 772-497-6530 and take advantage of youranonymousfeedback.com.
Sorry about that.
And we're going to go to Marty, who's holding. He calls us from West Palm Beach. Good morning, Marty.
Hi, good morning. I have a question for either Earl or Stu. On my wife's Honda CRV, which is a lease, it has a buyout price at the end of the lease. And on every every monthly statement it comes, it has a buyout, which of course includes how much we still owe monthly plus the buyout. But it doesn't say anything like if you want to buy it that you'd have to go to the dealer. So I don't understand if all leases are written that way, why would anybody go to the dealer and then get charged all these excess fees if you can go directly to the finance company?
Because the finance company is in collusion with the dealer, and they want to send the car. They want to send the customers back to the dealer.
But some leasing companies want to do it, and other leasing companies don't want to do it, and it's a really mixed bag out there. You're in control if you want to be firm about what you want to do. There's a couple of lawyers in South Florida. I've given their names and numbers out a couple of times. You might have to hire a lawyer to be able to deal directly with the leasing company and not have the added fees slipped in there because the laws are not being enforced. The lease contract is in 1976 there was I think Truth in Leasing. I can't remember the name of it, but there is a law on the books in leasing that says the option price must be the price, no more than the option price than when you exercise that option. There cannot be anything added to that. Well, it's the law, but you try to get that honored in Florida and most other places. The dealers are so used to getting away with screwing you on this thing that you can't do it. But that's in case of Toyota, you can deal directly with Toyota Leasing, at least Southeast Toyota Leasing. Whereas if you go through, I'm going to guess, Honda leasing, Honda will send you to a Honda dealer, and the Honda dealer will add, as you said, Marty, as much as they want to the purchase option price, which is a violation of the law. Then you got to call the lawyer.
Yeah. Well, on the statement, they just tell you that you send the check directly to the American Honda Finance. So that's what I'm wondering, if you're sending that right to them, unless they give you a different price when you're getting ready to do it. I mean, I still got 2 years left.
I don't think American Honda would dare do that. They're too big a target. The dealers are small, relatively speaking, and nobody gets excited about suing Charlie's Buick or something, a small dealership. But American Honda, lawyers would love to get a good class action suit against them. And if they were taking advantage of their leasing customers, first of all, there'd be a huge number of Hondas leased. And Honda's is worth billions of dollars, and the lawyers would go after them. So the big guys usually are pretty careful, publicly traded companies especially, but the dealers, they get away with it.
All right, well, I got 2 years to worry about it, so we'll see if
Hey, Marty,
it's back to normal. Yep.
let us know as you get closer to the end of the lease and you start getting correspondence from the leasing, from Honda, I guess it's Honda American Credit. Let us know what the offers are saying. Let's see look for things if they offer to let you buy it directly from them, or if they instruct you to go to the dealer. I'd be really curious to see what Honda does in this situation.
All right. Well, I listen every week, so in April of 2024, I'll let you.
You'll be there.
Thanks, Marty.
Thanks so much, Marty. We love hearing from you.
Have a good weekend.
Thank you. Same to you.
Bye.
Ladies, $50 for the first 2 new lady callers. Take advantage of that during our radio show this morning. Everyone needs an extra $50. $50 for the first 2 new lady callers. 877-960-9960. We're going to go to our first lady caller. Her name is Tiffany, and she's calling from Lake Worth. Welcome, Tiffany.
Good morning.
Good morning. You just won yourself $50.
Thank you.
Thank you for calling Earl Stewart on Cars. How can we help you?
I had a question. My father just got into an accident in my car, and I'm curious how they go about making the decision to whether they total the car out or whether they fix it. Also, if they do pay me out, how do they decide how much they're going to pay? Do they pay the book value or how much I owe? And then the other thing was that the airbags didn't go off in the car, so now I'm kind of nervous if they do fix it.
Yeah, that's a concern.
That's going to be an issue.
Hey, Tiffany, the first part of your question, the rule of thumb is it's not the rule of thumb, I think it's the actual rule, 75%. If the car is damaged by 75% of its replacement value, then it's a total.
Yeah. It varies by state, too.
Yeah. So it varies from state to state, to inform me, which no surprise. There's a lot of things that your dad ought to be worried about. Sometimes they don't total a car when it should be, and having the car totaled when it's almost totaled is preferable, because that way they're required to buy you a car and reimburse you to replace that car. And the value, right now the cost is very high to replace a car, but that's the insurance company's problem, not yours. If they don't total the car, then that means that you're going to have a car that's repaired extensively. And when you have a car that's repaired extensively, that negatively affects its ultimate resale value. So if it's close to a total, if you feel that your dad's car should be totaled, it was really whacked, then get a second or third opinion to be sure that you can't get a qualified estimator to say that car should be totaled, and then insist on that with your insurance company, even if you have to hire an attorney.
Here's a good point. They said, as far as I looked it up in Florida, it's 80%
80?
of the actual cash value of the vehicle immediately before the accident.
80%. Well, thanks, Drew.
Fantastic.
So get another opinion if you're worried. If you know it's not a total, and that's not a problem. But if you think it should be total, and they say no, that's when you want to start shopping around. And 80%, Stu just corrected me. It's I thought it was 75. Yeah, I guess it varies from state to state. Maybe it changed in the state of Florida.
It could have, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Tiffany, it's a real concern, for your dad. I understand. And, the long-term depreciation, safety, so many things to take into consideration. It's dotting the I's and crossing the T's.
I have an interesting thought. I want to, Earl, what you think about this. Right now, used car values are inflated at crazy high levels. The cost of repairs have not caught up with the cost of price. So if you have a actual cash value immediately before the accident at a incredibly, it was $3,000 more than it was a year ago.
I think I know where you're going.
Yeah, you're 80%. They're not going to total the car.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if they're going to follow that logic, or if they're going to say, well, used car prices are inflated. We're not going to do 80% of the actual cash value. I don't know.
And
No,
Tiffany,
that's a very good point.
Yeah,
You got to. The answer is either way. You got to be careful and get a second or third
absolutely.
opinion.
That second opinion's really key, especially in the environment that we're living in right now, and with inventory shortages, with everything. If the car has to be repaired, I know which way. I know what direction I would go in, but that's me. So, Tiffany, is there any other questions?
I mean, that was it. I am nervous. I am
Sure.
still nervous if they do fix it, like with the airbag issue.
Yeah, that's a big concern.
They are required to replace the airbag for a complete repair. So yes, if the airbag went off, which sounds like it did, then they have to put a new airbag, which adds hugely to the repair cost and pushes it toward the total. A lot of times in an accident when the airbag goes off is probably what most of the cost of the repair is, just putting the airbag back in.
It can be because
And
of the
Tiffany,
number
did
of
you
airbags.
say that the airbags all went off?
No, they didn't go
They,
off. So
yeah,
they did?
that's what
Oh.
I thought you said.
Yeah, okay,
They did not go off.
Well,
Yeah.
that probably leads me to believe it's not going to be total if the airbag didn't go off.
As I said, Tiffany, there's a lot of ifs, ands, and buts here that need to be figured out. And key, that second opinion, boy, I'd go for it.
and I will, because I have a small car, and I was hit by an 18-wheeler.
Oh, my gosh.
It's my car, but my dad was driving it.
Uh-huh.
Oh, wow. Is everybody okay?
Yeah, that.
Yeah, everybody's fine. He spun out a few times, and there's damage to
Oh,
the driver's
goodness.
side, all up, the front to the back. But
Yeah.
the airbag should have definitely come out. So
Yeah,
now-
something's off there. Definitely. Well, Tiffany, please stay in touch with us. Let us know how it all went. And congratulations again for your winning $50. And thank you so much for calling Earl Stewart on Cars. Spread the word. Let the ladies know that we're building a platform here. It's really important.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Stay in touch.
I will.
877,
Have a great one.
the same to you, 877-960-9960, or you can text us at 772-497-6530.
Okay.
Okay, kids, where are we going?
Yeah, I got some texts.
Stuart.
All right, Anne Marie has her our kickoff text for the day. She says, "Good morning. It appears that South Florida will likely be hit by a tropical storm. I think that's happening right now. That could dump up to a foot of rain before it exits the East Coast. This might be a good time to consider running an episode of the best of Earl on Cars, so you don't have to drive in the rain. Nope, Anne Marie, as you have already surmised, we ventured out.
Were you out there for the international sunrise?
I don't know.
Did you see us out there?
Were you out there? I didn't.
I was.
Okay, sure.
Earl was on the beach. I was in the backyard.
All right. Was there a sun? No.
Only you.
Anyway, cars. Anne Marie goes on. She has a serious topic. She says cars and floodwaters are not a good combination. And I got a text alert during the show that we have a flood warning. Cars sink. Please turn around. Don't drown. But there are those who insist on driving into flooded areas. That prompts the following questions. These are great questions. I've read them. Your dealership has a collision center body shop. What's the worst repairable flood damage in a vehicle that you've ever encountered? And the second question is the one I like. Which models are most frequently brought in after floods? Is it Corollas that don't think the puddle was that deep, or maybe Forerunners that just had to test the waters? Please stay safe. And before Rick answers, because he deals with these, I'm going to say the lower the car is to the ground, the more likely it's going to have a problem.
But our question was, what's the most expensive? I would say the most expensive vehicle was the most expensive, because once you blow an engine,
Yeah.
you're talking about replacing. That's the danger, right?
Yeah.
The whole engine goes.
Yeah,
For sure.
But she says what are the ones that are brought in most frequently?
Oh, most
Most
frequently.
frequently.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I rescued my brother Josh during a hurricane about 20 years ago.
Yeah.
I was driving a Forerunner. He was in a Camry, and his car was in a.
Oh, the ones that sit lower to the ground are
Yeah.
the ones that go first, right?
Well, there's actually two types of flood cars. One is the car was sitting there, and the water
Rate
came
rose.
up to
Yeah,
it,
accumulated.
and it filled the car up from
That happened
rain.
to
It
Josh.
was in a low
Yeah,
spot.
that's what happened to Josh.
And the water came up into the car. If the water, the rule of thumb that I've heard from adjusters in the past was that if the water level inside the car, and you'll actually see like grass marks where
Yeah.
you could see where the
Like a
high
weed-
water
a
mark
weed line.
was. It's the high water
Yeah,
line. And if it got to
Yeah.
the bottom of the dashboard, they pretty much decided at that point you're almost totaled, because you've got so much water in the car that you've gotten the electronics and the computer systems.
Soaked.
You're pretty much done.
It's like dropping your phone in the ocean.
Right.
And then a word of advice to people that are dealing with their insurance companies, that they bought a car and it has flood, they think they might have flood damage. Sometimes you don't know about the flood damage for months or maybe a year. I mean, there's subtle damages to a car from water that don't materialize. You could buy the car today, it's been in a flood, drives like $1 million for 2 months, and then
Yeah.
suddenly.
So issues start popping up. Now, the other type of flood car is the one where they drove into the water thinking, I can make it through that. Or say they were smart and they were doing the proper way, which it happened to a friend of mine. He was stuck. He had only one way to get to his house. He went into the water nice and super slow like you're supposed to. And some guy in a big 4x4 went the other
Oh,
direction
man.
at high speed.
And swamped him.
Huge wave of water swamped my buddy's car, and the water got sucked into the
Like to
engine
catch
and it
that
blew up
guy.
the engine.
Yeah.
So this happens out, and actually it is against the law to travel any more than idle speed through water in any vehicle. So even these guys with the big trucks,
Oh, they're breaking the law.
slow down.
He was
I've
probably,
got-
he was probably rolling cold.
I got a great tip
Thank you,
just
Rick.
from my
That's
experience driving into
a
the
good
studio
tip.
this morning.
Slow
Here's
down.
a tip. Here's a tip for all you drivers during heavy rains and floods. Find a fool on the road that's running through the puddles, and
jeez.
you can see. Sometimes you can't see the puddle. I mean, particularly at night.
Oh, yeah,
or
they help you
particularly- So if you get behind a fool, you can see he hits the puddle, and you go over to the right.
And he
or to
knocks
the
a lot
left
of the water
end.
out of the way,
Yeah,
too.
knocks the water out. Yeah.
Yep.
And I followed the Kia for about 5 miles in, and it saved me a lot of
He
time.
was running interference for
He
you.
was running interference. So find a fool that likes to run through deep water and follow him and go the other way.
There you go.
Smart
That's a great
maneuver.
tip.
Mamma mia.
I like Nancy's
okay,
better.
folks.
Slow down.
We're going to wrap this up. As I ventured into the state of Florida, I learned very quickly to park my car in, or I should say, on high ground.
Yep.
877-960-9960, or you can text us at 772-497-6530. The ladies are lined up, and I am just bubbling here. Thank you so much, ladies. We're going to go to Julie first, and Nicole, please hold on. Julie, welcome. Welcome back.
Hi, thank you. I had a question that's car-related, and that is towing cars. I had what I thought was a dead battery, and I called up a towing company, and I told them that, I had the electric brake on the Corolla, and to bring a dolly, and they said, oh, I can use sliders, so you don't just have to put your car in neutral. So I said, all right. Well, when they came there, I said, can you just try and start the car? And it started right up, when you jump started it. So I said, oh, I'll just drive to the dealership, because I was like 20 miles away. I was up in Juneau. And he said, oh, you can't do that because it's your alternator. And I said, how do you know it's my alternator versus my battery? And he shows me this thing like he'd use that machine with the grips on it. He said it was a 6, now it's a 14. And I said, well, what would happen if I drove it? And he said it would probably die a few miles from here. Now, it was strange to me because I'd had it jump-started that morning, and I drove 20 miles on that one charge. So anyway, I get to the dealership, and I tell them what the tow truck driver thought, that it was the alternator. And they test things. They say, oh, your alternator's fine. It's the battery. And in the meantime, I had to pay $100 to have it towed. So how could you tell if it's one versus the other?
Well, I bet that made you feel
simple.
good, Julie.
There's a simple way. Once the engine is started and it's running, look on the dash and you'll see a little red. If this red indicator that's in the shape of a battery is lit up, then that means the alternator is not charging. If the alternator is charging properly, that battery light will be off. If all those indicator lights are off and your car is running, then 99.9% chance all it is the battery. Drive to the dealership or your local mechanic or auto parts store and have them test the battery, and they'll double check the alternator. Most of the new testers will do a very quick check on it. But the tow truck driver didn't want to lose his commission on the tow.
Julie, what was the name of the tow truck company? Can you tell us?
I can't tell you yet because I haven't gotten the receipt from them. They couldn't give me a receipt at the time.
Yeah.
But I was up in the Juneau area.
It wasn't wasn't AAA or something like that.
No, I went through AAA, and the funny thing is, I go through AAA, and the first person let's say it was ABC Towing. I get a call from this other company, and I said, "Who are you?" I thought it was the other company. They're like, they declined it, and I'm thinking that's weird. Oh, I don't know if did I tell you that? I told him we needed a dolly, and he goes, "Oh, I can use sliders instead. It doesn't have to be put in neutral." Have you ever heard of sliders?
Yeah.
Because it never got to that point since I was able to, he was able to start the car.
Yeah, it's the sliders are actually they'll jack up the car and put the little pieces under the wheels, but it's really not the best thing to do. And the really the best option is to use those little wheels just so they can get it up onto a flatbed tow truck. Anymore, flatbed tow trucks are the way that any car needs to be towed if it's got to go any distance. But once the engine starts and you've got electrical power, then your parking brake turns off anyways, so you're all set with it.
I think you should get your $100 back. I'd file a complaint, call the towing company, and just say you misinformed me, and I want my money back for the tow.
Yeah, Earl's absolutely right. And I think that you probably, baffled everyone with your extreme knowledge, and and you can use that to your advantage by getting your money back. Nothing like knowledge. It is extremely powerful.
Yeah. And one other thing, when I'd gone to get my, I had to get my car jump-started twice, and I will tell you, you should go to somebody who's construction-related, because when I got it jump-started that morning, a guy from a pool company started immediately. That afternoon, I was at my office up in Juneau, and this guy in a BMW said he'd help me, but he didn't know where his battery was. And I told him, I have family members with BMWs, it's in the trunk. So I thought, I don't want him helping me. So then this other guy, I said, you know how to jump start a car? And he goes, I'll Google it. I didn't want him touching my car. I finally found a man who knew what he was doing, but I said, this morning they repositioned the grip and it started pouring, so I just thanked him, and that's when, I had it done the next morning. And, I don't personally know how to jump start a car. I learned, and actually somebody gave me one of those machines, so I've got to charge it. But I did feel like I was taken advantage of, since he had to know it wasn't the alternator.
Sure, definitely. Most definitely. Julie, a great call. I would love for you to stay in touch with us. Give us a call again. Let us know how it all turned out. Like I said earlier, knowledge is power, and you had it all in your hands, and you shared it with the people that were saying they were going to help you. But indeed, they weren't.
All right. Okay, stay dry. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Julie. Have a great weekend. We're going to go to Nicole, who is our second new female caller. Good morning, Nicole. Thank you for waiting.
Hi, good morning. My question for you is, what does it mean when you have a rebuilt title on your car?
It basically means that the car was totaled by way of a flood, an accident, or whatever. It was purchased from a salvage yard or a salvage company, and somebody repaired the car enough that they could get a new title issued on the car. And bear in mind, it might have been repaired back to near perfection, but it might also have only been repaired just enough to get the car back on the road.
Okay, so would you consider that safe to buy and or drive?
Only if you have it inspected by a very highly qualified mechanic who can really go over it and make sure everything is in excellent condition.
And Nicole, even if it is inspected carefully, even if it was put back together again very well, it's still going to have that handicap of having that rebuilt title, and that seriously affects the resale value. Normally, when you see that a car's been in a flood, or it's been totaled, it's been rebuilt, or any of these drastic things that appear on the title, the buyer is scared away. So if you buy the car and it reflects the huge reduction in cost, then you're breaking even. But if you pay for the car as if it didn't have the rebuilt title, even though it might be a great car, you're going to have that handicap when you resell it or trade it in. Be sure that you're getting the compensation for that handicap title.
Gotcha. Okay.
Nicole, I want to congratulate you. You did win yourself $50 this morning, and I also want to let you know that I don't know with this situation with this car you're talking about, whether it's something you're going to save money, but in the long run, a depreciation, boy, it comes back and bites you. So definitely get that car checked out.
Okay, great. Thank you for
You're quite
all
welcome.
the information.
Give us your information, and I'll get that check out to you.
Okay, great.
Have a great weekend. 877-960-9960, or you can text us at 772-497-6530. We're going to go to John, who's been holding in Stewart. Good morning, John.
Yes, I have a question. I called like two or 3 weeks ago, and I got this Mercedes-Benz, and I talked to Rick, and Mercedes-Benz 230C, and it has all kinds of problems. So I changed the coils and the spark plugs, everything. I took it back, and they all fouled out. So I took it to this guy's really good. He put in 2 camshaft adjusters, put in new plugs. I drove it home. Next day I drove it around the block, and it's just jumping and jerking and everything else. So I called him back, and so he said that this is what he did. He did a diagnostic check. The light was on for the camshaft adjustment codes, the fouled out plugs. He reset the plugs, or he put in new plugs and cam magnets. The vehicle still has a cam phasing issue, and he referred me to the Mercedes-Benz dealership. So I don't know what to do, because the car's in perfect condition as far as like aesthetically, cosmetically. The paint job's great. I put in new tires. I put in new struts. I did all this stuff, but I need some advice. I don't know. I can't sell it because it's jumping and jerking and stuff. And what would you guys do? I don't know. I mean, it's 2003.
Yeah, unfortunately, Mercedes is one. European cars really not my forte. I've never really learned much about them. My first step, I would go online and look for Mercedes car owner forums here in the local area or local to you, and find, because there's forums for like fan clubs for every model of car. I mean, even for Yugos nowadays, and there will be a group out there, and I'm sure a group local to you, that absolutely love their Mercedes to an incredible extent. And I guarantee at least one of them has got a mechanic in their back pocket that they know that knows these things inside and out. And that's where I would go to get my recommendation for a Mercedes mechanic, whether independent or a dealership if need be. But that's the direction I would follow. Is I would find Mercedes owners and see who they take their cars to, and You find their recommendation, and I guarantee you're going to get probably the top-notch guy.
Okay, so you try to put some more money in it, because I did this to my Toyota Corolla. I blew up the engine, and so I got one from like those online things and put it in, and it worked really good. But I was talking about that, and the guy at the auto part, or at the cars place, he said I wouldn't do that because you get into all kinds of problems and stuff. And so that'd be about probably $3,000 to do that, and I don't want to put that much money in the car.
Right. It just until I had it diagnosed and knew what was going on with the car, I would look at it very carefully, simply because the cost of trying to get a different car right now, there's just almost nothing available out there unless you're going to spend a fortune on it.
Yeah, and I don't want to do that. And the guy he did that, and he said that it needs this stimulus canvas phasing thing. But he said the tool for him to do that cost $1,000, and he said he doesn't, because he only works on 2 of these cars at all, in his whole time.
Right.
And so he said he just couldn't buy one. I understood that, and I Googled it, and the guy was doing the same thing that he talked about. And when he got done with the tool, he put it in this nice box, his case and everything, and put it aside. So that's what I'll do then, Rick. I'll get on one of those auto clubs or something for Mercedes-Benz. So that's it, I guess.
Okay, well, thanks so much, John. Stay in touch. Let us know how it all turned out for you. Have a great weekend.
Okay, you guys as well. Bye.
877-960-9960, and you can text us at 772-497-6530. And we're going to go out to Atlanta, where Justin is holding. Good morning, Justin.
Good morning.
Welcome.
How are you, folks? It's a good day. I actually met you guys in 2010 at JMC, and Stu helped me out in 21 with a 4Runner off-road premium.
How you doing,
But
Justin?
Fantastic.
Hey, man, I'm the Clyde Meg guy. I got a question for Rick, though, about KDSS. I was wondering, it's been about a year now. I usually don't get a warranty, especially on Toyotas because they're so reliable. But I was wondering what he saw long-term history with KDSS suspension. I'm loving it on the road and off-road. I'm actually up in Asheville, North Carolina right now. I'll be back in July. But just wanted to get Rick's opinion on it because I was doing some research and I figured there's nobody that knows better than him.
Well, it's interesting because they put that system onto a lot of the 4Runners, and I think even a few Sequoias and maybe some Land Cruisers. KDSS is basically it's a computer-controlled suspension leveling system. It's a fancy suspension system on the 4Runners. Truthfully, I think we actually repaired one. Out of all of them that we've ever seen, I think we had one 4Runner that had an issue with the KDSS system. From that, I would have to say they've been pretty bulletproof. They've been good systems.
So pretty much like everything else Toyota makes, and I'm not going to worry about it. I was just sitting here listening. I told Stu I listen every morning, and I usually do, but I was sitting here watching it this morning, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to ask Rick Wall here.
Sure, yeah.
More
I
people need to do that.
I don't even worry about it. So
That's
thanks
right.
a lot. I appreciate you.
No problem.
Great one.
See the effect you have on people?
Thanks for your dedication,
Justin feels so much
Justin.
better now.
Thank you.
Thanks, Justin.
You're welcome. Have a great weekend. I think we're going to take care of some YouTubes and some texts. The lines are
good.
Clear.
I don't know. I have a visual aid. Negan texted us. I'm sorry, Rick. He's my friend now. Negan says, here I was thinking of the energy crisis in the 1970s. I was very young, 7 years old. I remember the President Carter bumper stickers. What does Earl remember from those times? And are we heading there again? Gas jumped 60 cents in Arizona. I'll tell you what I remember about the 70s. I remember a Time magazine cover, and there was a picture of Gerald Ford and Jimmy Carter, and my dad pointing at Jimmy Carter saying, he's bad, and Gerald Ford, he's good. He was trying to turn me into a Republican when I was like 7 years old. But I remember the gas lines.
Yeah, one of the things I do remember is we had the Mazdas at the time. I had a Mazda dealership, and the rotary engine was a phenomenon. It was exciting to talk about, and it looked like it was really going to make a big hit. And the problem with the rotary engine, other than the seal, which failed after a few maybe 20,000 miles, and you had to replace the engine, as if that wasn't enough, the fuel mileage was terrible. So here we're trying to sell Mazdas, rotary engine Mazdas, and we're during the gas crisis and the gasoline lines, and I can remember trying to get a reasonable amount of fuel economy on a Mazda driving on 995. The way we measured fuel economy back in the dark ages, we would take a bottle of gas and we would run the gas into the carburetor, or in the case of a rotary engine, no carburetor, but wherever we ran it, and I would get on 95, try to drive at a steady pace so I could say the Mazda really got 18 miles to gallon when it really got 8 miles to gallon.
Wow.
And the other thing I can remember is writing a letter, open letter, like the current version of my blog, to the National Highway Traffic Safety Association, blasting them for getting all upset about gas mileage, and gas mileage really wasn't important. I mean, you're
trying to spin it.
Yeah, you're making a big deal about the fact these cars only get 12 miles a gallon. What's wrong with that? Right. I mean, that's an American.
That's right.
American cars are supposed to be good gas mileage. Those are my memories of the 70s.
I'll tell you, here's my memory of 70s, and it's like yesterday. Tough times, real tough times. Raising 3 daughters. I'll tell you what, standing in line, gas prices, everything that you can remember about the 70s. There were some great times, but right now we're in a quandary, I guess you might call it, a crazy, crazy time. But it helps to think back, and it just helps to settle.
What's past is prologue.
Yes.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
As a matter of fact, Donovan has just come in. He came in with a question a few minutes ago. Says, now that we're just a few cents away from $5 gasoline, although I think now it's a few cents over $5 in some places.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen a drop in the value of large vehicles to get poor mileage?
No.
Or seen more interest in the smaller or hybrid vehicles?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Prices are not coming down, and there is more interest in hybrid.
Hybrid.
Big problem, nobody can get them.
Everybody wants a hybrid.
But those big SUVs are still selling like crazy.
I think there is a little. There's been some discussion about it, and what Stu's saying, we're not experiencing it in our dealership.
Right.
But there is a worrisome decrease, minuscule decrease in demand for heavy gas guzzlers.
Yeah.
And it just so far it isn't material, but
that's because supply. Yeah, because the supply can't keep up.
Yeah.
But it's definitely a lower demand. But it's the supply is so small that you can't see it. This is a text from Bob. Rick, this is for you. Speaking of fuel, I have a 2008 Prius. Once in a while, every few weeks, the fuel gauge will be on 1 bar. And for people who don't have a Prius, the fuel gauge is a series of little LED light bars. So 1 bar means you're almost out. So he says the fuel gauge will be on 1 bar when we first start the car, but there's more gas in the car. For example, last time this happened, I went to the gas station and it only took 4 gallons. I've tried turning the car off and on, back on, rebooting the car, smart, when it happens, but it doesn't fix it. Any ideas on this? And this is, he says, is periodic every few weeks.
Yep.
Yep.
You're not going to like it.
Uh-oh.
You need a new fuel tank.
Tank?
Tank.
Wow.
We've seen on that 2nd gen Prius, which is 2004 to 2009 body style.
Yeah.
That was the one that had the infamous bladder in the tank system.
Oh, yeah.
The tank was a heavy-duty ABS plastic on the outside, and then there's a flexible bladder inside, which was designed to help reduce fuel vaporization. It didn't let the gas evaporate inside because the bladder would shrink down to leave less airspace as you use the fuel out from the tank. Unfortunately, that particular system was designed as a single-piece unit. It's not serviceable. You cannot replace any portion of it.
So the bladder
of it
isn't
separate.
expanding to
Right,
fully fill.
and it's the system inside with the bladder itself and the sensors inside that include your fuel level sensor. And in order to fix that, you've got to replace the entire
Can you
tank.
get a used tank?
You can, but the odds are it may be having the same issue.
What's the cost of the repair?
As they get older, they get much more expensive. I couldn't even give you a guess on the price of the tank itself right now because I haven't done one in quite a while.
No.
Labor-wise, you're going to be looking at about $450 to $500.
So you're talking
labor.
$1,000 probably.
Well, actually, that tank price might be as much as $1,500 to $2,000 right now.
So your answer is forget about it. Drive it.
Yeah, I would simply drive it, keep track of your mileage.
And when you trade it in, don't tell the dealer about it.
Yeah.
Except, Bob, tell me what your last.
He
Please
wouldn't
text me
tell-
your last name,
He
Bob.
wouldn't tell you about it if you were selling it to you.
Exactly.
So don't tell him about
But
it.
we would. So, Bob, let me know text me your last name so when you buy the car, I know what your trade is. I'm just kidding. Yeah, you might just or put in an order now for another car because it's going to take a while if you want to replace
No,
it.
that's a classic case if you don't fix something on I started to say when you're driving an older car. In this case here, your older car's worth a ton of money, but all cars are worth a ton of money. So, but yeah, drive it and then
Very
trade it
inconvenient,
in.
though. Yeah,
when
'cause
you-
you're
when
gonna
it's-
you have to fill up every couple
Anytime
hours.
that you see that tank, if it suddenly says, "Oh, you've only got one bar,"
Fill it up.
go ahead and stop and fill it up. Just be on the safe side
You
there.
have
is all.
I had no
wiggle
idea
room.
that something like that would be that expensive. And I know you guessed, but your guess is far
Yeah.
better than anybody else's. So you're talking about $3,000 on an old car. You're just crazy to spend that kind of money.
And it's not, unless you forget to put fuel in at that point, it's not a breakdown issue. It's not something that will leave you stranded. You just have to be more mindful of your fuel usage and keep your fuel topped off.
Well, you talk about prices going up. How about the fuel tank?
Oh, it's
I mean,
outrageous, some of
please.
the things.
I mean, it's just like you suggested. Keep an eye on the tank.
All right. Let's go to D in West Palm Beach. He sent us a text here. He says, Hurricane Irene in 1999 flooded our parking area with water rising about 2/3 the height of our Nissan's tires, entering the interior. By the way, it was Hurricane Irene in 1999 when I rescued Josh in the flood.
Is that right?
Yes. Entering the interior. Both our car and the neighbor's car were totaled due to damaged electronics. They wouldn't start. His question is, are newer cars, and he specifies Toyotas, designed with higher placement of electronics? And he seems to recall the Nissan's electrical components were under the Nissan's passenger seat. So that's his question. And that's from D in West Palm Beach.
A lot of components are much higher under the dash now. And as a matter of fact, one of the common changes I've seen on Toyotas lately is the engine computer is now located out under the hood and is completely weatherproofed.
Okay.
However, there are other electrical components such as the airbag center sensor, which is the airbag computer, is generally very low in the car, and certain other items, the electronic components are still low in the car. So unfortunately, flood issues can still be a very real danger to your car. If you think the area that we may, like especially today, park your car somewhere as high as you can get it. Get the highest point of land that you can get to and park your car up somewhere like that. And again, folks, if you see
Mount Everest.
standing water,
Mount Everest, right?
very, very slow. Go slow and easy. And if you don't know for sure how deep it is, stay out of it.
Yeah. I remember that we had an FRS came into the shop, this is years ago, and I think you worked on it. Maybe you did, maybe it was Bobby, and somebody drove it into a puddle during one of these days like this, and it shut down. It was a engine lock or hydrolock, and he tried to claim that it didn't happen that way, but we had the computer record. We saw that the temperature of the engine went from like 250 to 70 degrees in 1 second, so he drove it into the water.
With all the information that we put out about flooding, how many people did we see this morning? I'm talking about Earl and I this morning on the road. I mean, zooming through this deep, deep water. It's just
They're not listeners of the show, that I can tell you that much.
That's why we need to continue the show. And it's really, it's just so easy. I mean, how costly will it be? We talked about the fuel tank. I mean, there's a way to get around all of this. Put your thinking cap on when you get on the road.
Oh, as a matter of fact, Donovan, you got an interesting line of information here. It says a third-party tank, which is an outside producer, an aftermarket part. Third-party tank for that Prius is about $950, and a Toyota factory tank is $1,800 online.
That'll tell you something, folks.
Yeah.
OEM parts, unless you're talking about crash parts, which are very important to be OEM, but if you're talking about non-crash parts, if you can find a good aftermarket OEM, they get all the money. They charge the dealer too much, and the dealer charges you too much. So
Take care of that car.
And a little side note here, a lot of times on parts, you can find the part made by the same manufacturer. It's the identical part that the factory gets to sell to Toyota to put on that car. You can find it at an outside source for half to 2/3 the price.
One day there'll be a huge investigation of this whole auto parts thing. There's so much going on behind the scenes. It just makes me crazy when I think about it. So I imagine you're building bumpers, and you're in Taiwan, and Ford is buying your bumpers, and you're putting a stamp on them. And I'm not saying they do this, I'm saying as an example, and they call it a Ford, this is a Ford bumper. And then Ford marks it up a huge amount of money, sells the same bumper to somebody else, and they don't call it a Ford bumper, but it's the exact same bumper. And you can buy it for half the price. So you got to know what you're doing, but you can get a huge bargain by looking at aftermarket parts.
A similar situation. An air conditioning compressor from Toyota made by Nippon Denso might cost $1,500, and you can get the identical AC compressor made by Nippon Denso from, say, Worldpac or another source for about $400.
Amazing.
I mean, and it's the identical part. They are made right from the same factory. Both of them, one might have come off the line, one right after the other. One went on a truck to Toyota, the other went on a truck to the other distributor.
Do you think Toyota dealers are buying those aftermarket compressors? Condenser.
We actually quite often will buy from an outside source
Let me finish,
and sell it to the customer at a reduced price.
And marking them up to the same price that Toyota has as suggested retail.
I guarantee some places do that.
See what's happening, folks? I mean, you can't win. If you're a consumer and you're buying parts, you're buying cars, you're going to a poker game, and if you look around the table and you don't know who the sucker is, that means you're the sucker. So when you're dealing with automotive parts or automotives, you got to be careful. They screw you on the parts, they screw you on the part, on the cars, and it's a dangerous game to be played. Okay, where are we?
I got a text. We got a text. Got a text from Bob. He says, "Good morning. When I purchased my 2017, you're gonna like this one, Dad. When I purchased my 2017 Sienna, it came with ToyoGuard paint protection.
Whoa.
How long does that last, and can it be reapplied?" In the old days, ToyoGuard, I used to think ToyoGuard was a little bottle because it came with a little can of paint sealer in the and like extra paint sealer in the glove compartment. They don't do that anymore. Listen, they put on some kind of sealant on the paint that's supposed to protect against salt and harsh climate. And they warranty it against premature weathering and stuff like that for, I think, 3 years. So that would be the official answer. We don't believe in it. We don't think it's really anything that it doesn't. There's some other parts to our guard. There's some car rental and roadside assistance that have some value, but the least valuable, the least part of ToyoGuard is that paint sealant and the fabric sealant. And they spray something on there, I mean, they really do. But
how do you know?
Because I trust them, to be honest. But I don't think you could put two cars side by side and say the ToyoGuard one fared better, in time.
Yeah, the dealer cost on ToyoGuard is about $250. They sell it to you for $700, and I don't know what Southeast Toyota costs them. If you know a Toyota service manager that you can talk to man to man or woman to woman or whatever the case may be, ask the Toyota service manager how many warranty claims have ever been paid that he knows of in his career by Toyota on a ToyoGuard warranty.
Now, I think I've seen there's other fabric sealer things where I've seen things paid, but on the exterior paint, I don't think so. I don't think it's ToyoGuard. I think there's some other product.
I don't think there's ever been a claim paid on ToyoGuard.
Yeah.
So that's my opinion.
Let's pursue that and see if we can just try and
Well,
get that
Mark,
data.
Mark has never seen one.
No, I'm saying maybe some of our friends up in Toyota could help us get that
Okay,
information.
we can do that.
Another investigation.
Yeah.
A future of investigations.
Got time for another text?
Yeah.
877-960-9960. We got plenty of time.
Okay.
And go ahead, Stu.
All right, this is from a concerned grandma. She says, your professional opinion is sincerely appreciated. I gave my 2003 Toyota 4Runner to my daughter who lives in Kissimmee, Florida, after my husband passed. My granddaughter will be driving the Toyota to her high school and then to college next spring. I need a reliable and highly recommended technician in business in the Kissimmee area. And folks out of the state, that's near Orlando, in the Kissimmee area to diagnose issues that must need to be repaired to the 4Runner. My daughter also has a Toyota Tundra. Therefore, please recommend the best in the area. Also, if you have a vigilante recommendation in the Kissimmee area, please provide ASAP. Thank you, concerned grandma. On the vigilante thing, we don't have anybody in the Orlando or Kissimmee area, but we have several down here in South Florida. It's not that far. So if you go to earlsvigilantes.com and look up, I'm sure, a phone call, they'd be willing to help. I know they're chomping at the bit
And you
to
want to
help
look for an ASE certified. ASE certified in as many different specialties as you can. You can have, a guy like Rick. Rick Kearney is certified in all ASE. I can never remember what ASE stands for. So.
The Society for Automotive Service Excellence.
Okay, Automotive Service Excellence. Rick Kearney is qualified in all the different areas. There's got to be half a dozen. I don't know what they got. But transmissions, air conditioning, blah, 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 blah.
There's nine of them right now for automobiles.
So find an ASE certified technician in Kissimmee that is qualified in as many areas as possible, especially the area of your concern if you're bringing your car in.
Yeah, and unfortunately, we don't personally know, we're not that far away, but I don't know of any facility, a dealership, or independent place that I personally could, could endorse. I don't know anybody up there, and I don't think anybody in here does either. We have a text from Dog Walker Dave for Rick. Says, jumping cars used to have to be performed in a specific sequence. Is it still the case with newer cars?
Technically, yes. You should connect the positive sides first and then the negative sides, because the negative cables are less likely to throw a spark, and batteries still can produce hydrogen gas from them, and a little spark can start a fire.
Okay.
Rick, you're a mine of information. Jonathan, how long would it take to queue up that video, that YouTube? The reason I'm thinking about Rick because he's answering so many questions today, and he's really been an extremely important part of the show. He always is. He's on YouTube, YouTube. And you can find Rick with all sorts of answers to technical questions. I ran across one, actually, someone emailed me, thanked me in an email for showing her something very important that she wasn't aware of. And we're going to show you that YouTube clip, and you can go to youtube.com. Where do we go?
Earl and Cars.
Earl and Cars?
Yeah, Earl and Cars.
Yeah.
All Rick stuff's there. Also Earl Stewart Toyota. I get comments, I'm not kidding, every single week, because I get notified every time somebody comments on a video. And on several of Rick's videos, weekly, I get comments thanking him for explaining how to unlock a steering wheel is the most common one, squealing brakes.
Yeah.
It's crazy. They have millions of views now.
Yeah,
We're like,
and-
Well, this is a little unusual, and Jonathan's going to run that now, okay?
What an amazing journey with Rick, the irreplaceable Rick.
Here we go.
And I've got a little tip as long as we're talking about the traffic light situation. Now, have you ever noticed that when you're coming up to a traffic light, the painted white lines in between the lanes change from a dotted line, a broken line, to a solid line, a certain distance from the traffic light itself? But are you also aware that if you are traveling at the posted speed limit, when your car reaches the beginning of that solid line, if the light turns yellow before you reach that solid line, they paint those lines a certain distance that you should be able to safely stop your car. So if you have not reached that point where the line turns solid and the traffic light turns yellow, that's your indication that you should stop and not continue through that light. If the light turns yellow after you've already reached that solid line, you should go ahead and look carefully and continue on through with caution. When you see that solid line, that's your indication that you should stop and not continue through that light.
You know, I never knew that.
Rick's voice, by the way, it sounds like you hadn't even gone through puberty then. Like, how much younger were you then?
Honestly.
You don't sound like that today.
That one was years ago.
But let me. I said, here's something I never knew, and now you can learn all sorts of cool stuff from that. So I just
Yeah, I always thought it meant you can't change lanes that close to the
that's what I thought.
Well, that's also the law is you're not supposed to cross a solid line.
Right.
Yeah.
But that little indicator that, hey, that's where you should be looking at.
I remember this, by the way.
You know, it's slow down. You know.
No, I remember that I remember that show.
And it's there to save lives.
We're there in the other studio. All right.
Yep.
I got some anonymous feedback if you guys want it.
Sure.
This is really good. This is the kind of feedback that we like. It says, "Hey, Earl Stewart, I was told about this video," and he's referring to a video. He doesn't have a video here, but I was told about this video from my GSM, and that's a general sales manager. So this is a salesperson who was writing this. Hey, Earl Stewart, told about this video from my GSM. I wanted to thank you for what kind words you have said about my work. I think it's awesome what you do out there and checking up on the live market we live in today. Also, thank you again from Ronald Colon at Mike Maroney Chevrolet. So when I saw this, I looked up the mystery shop. We didn't give him that great a mystery shop, but we gave Ronald a great. He was fantastic and polite and professional, and we described him as such, and the word got back to him from his boss, and he appreciates that. So hey, we're happy to do it. Like we said, when we do the mystery shopping report, we're not out there to get we're out there just to report. And when a salesperson does a great job, even if the dealership doesn't, we make sure to say so.
Yeah, and you salesmen are listening now. Remember that. Just do a really honest, good job every time, and we'll write you up. We'll give you a recommendation.
We got tons of listeners, and we recommend you. So let's do it again. If you need a Chevrolet, go to Mike Maroney Chevrolet, ask for Ronald Colon, and he will take care of you.
Yeah, there you go.
What's the location for that? Where is that dealership?
I don't remember. That used to be
Okeechobee Boulevard.
Okeechobee Boulevard.
It used to be Roger Dean Chevrolet.
That's right. Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. The old Roger. All right.
There we go. Thanks, Ronald. All right. Here's a question about ordering a Toyota. It says, if I order a Toyota with a specific model, color, and options in mind, is Toyota building that specific car for me? Or are you merely getting the next car that meets those specifications as part of your regular allocation? Correct. They are not building that car specially for you. It's a hard job to sort through all the cars that are allocated to us, matching them to the right color, equipping it with, putting the right equipment on it, swapping it with another dealer. And I remember we're swapping VINs and not cars.
Well, let's be sure to say that you get the exact car you ordered,
but the process
doesn't
is
have
messy.
Billy Brown's name on it.
No.
But there are enough orders, hopefully. Now, just as a crazy, that's the way my mind works. Supposing they didn't have the particular car that Billy Brown ordered, I guess they would build it for him. I've never heard if they will build a car with these options if they have the capability.
There's limits to it, so it has to be provided and offered by Toyota. So there might be a car. So they might take the Toyota brochure and say, I want this green car, this model with this package, and you just can't get it in the Southeast.
But they're okay in the Southeast. Yeah.
As long as it's shown in a brochure, you should be able to order. I don't mean brochure online.
But we're an independent distributorship in the Southeast, and for the manufacturer, the car that you order, you're going to get it. It's going to take a while, and maybe it doesn't have your name on it, but that combination exists, and sooner or later it will reach you. And today you're looking 6 months.
Yeah, and we have some other complicated options to try to if there's something that's really hard to get, but everything's taken a long time.
We're in a long wait. 6 months, 8 months, possibly a year.
Yeah, probably longer than that. How does Toyota Guard Platinum get on the Maroney labels? That's another great, this is anonymous feedback. And we were just talking about that. Southeast Toyota is an independent distributor for Toyota. When we, as a Toyota dealership, interact with Toyota, we don't interact with Toyota Motors North America. We interact with Southeast Toyota. They're effectively the manufacturer for us. And so they have a deal with Toyota, the manufacturer, Toyota Motors North America, and they can print the distributor options on the Monroney label. It's indicated as such. On the far left, it shows standard equipment. In the middle of the Monroney label, it shows the manufacturer's options. And on the far right, it shows distributor installed options. And that's where you'll find
To the
Toyota
untrained
Guard.
eye, it's just like you're buying it directly from Toyota.
Yep.
And Southeast Toyota began as a little bitty place back in the late 50s, early 60s. And there were a bunch of gas stations selling Toyotas. When nobody heard of Toyota, they called it Toya Pet back then. And Jim Moran bought the distributorship for $100,000. And now his estate is worth multi-billions of dollars. He actually caused Toyota to be what they are in the USA today. He taught them how to merchandise. He told them what kind of cars to build. He is revered to this day, and he's been dead for 20 years.
Amazing.
He's revered by Toyota, and if he wants to have his label on the Monroney label, they'll do whatever Southeast Toyota wants. Without Southeast Toyota,
They sell over 20% of the Toyotas in America.
exactly, they're amazing.
Yeah. What a man. What a legend.
They definitely outpace Southeast Toyota when you look at the number of the share of Toyota vehicles in the market. It's it's higher significantly, not significantly, but it's
And the
higher.
dealers are typically more profitable, even though they mark their cars up another $1,000 on the average than the other areas of the country.
And we have some more Southeast Toyota questions on anonymous feedback.
Oh boy.
Does the Toyota dealer decide whether or not to put on Toyota Care Platinum? Yes, and we've covered this a lot. Salespeople probably don't even know this, but they tell you that it's on every Toyota, that you have to get it, but you don't. Good luck trying not to get it now, because a dealership's going to put whatever they want on the car, and you don't have a whole lot of bargaining power. But in normal times, if you put up
It's
a fight,
hugely profitable to Southeast Toyota. It's hugely profitable to the dealer. It's hugely profitable to the salesman, the sales managers. The way they construct that, the cost of that are holdbacks and kickbacks and other percentages and quotas, bonuses, so that if you want to maximize your profit, you use Toyo Guard. And even though we don't do it because we don't think it's a value to the customer, and so we don't put it on our cars. Oftentimes we sell cars with Toyo Guard because we have to get the car from another dealer, and most dealers put all their Toyo Guard on all their cars. We don't do it because it's not a good value for our customers.
that's right. We experimented with it once a couple of years ago.
Yeah, we did.
Then
We sold it at our cost.
Yeah.
We figured because a lot of people were so brainwashed and to think Toyo Guard was a good thing, people would come in and say, well, does it have Toyo Guard? And we said, well, let's be able to say yes to that. We'll put Toyo Guard on and make Southeast Toyota happy. They loved us for 3 or 4 months. And we put it on every car. We sold it at what we paid for it, about $250.
$259.
Huh?
$259.
$259 instead of $699, and we didn't like it though. It just didn't make sense, and we went back, and now we don't do it anymore.
We got tired of explaining it to our longer time customers. What are you doing?
Yeah, why are you
You've been
doing it?
railing at this for years.
You
What are
lied
doing?
to me. You lied.
Well, we tried something. So.
Yeah.
Great text this morning.
Yep, and we're all caught up,
you
too.
too. Are we?
Yeah.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for us to go to the mystery shopping report. And of course, Agent Lightning did a fabulous job, as she always does. And you're an important part of this show, and we would love to hear from you. Please vote on the mystery shopping report. The mystery shopping report is Mercedes-Benz of North Palm Beach, and you're going to love it. Now back to the recovering car dealer.
Yeah, Mercedes-Benz of North Palm Beach is interesting to me for a couple of reasons. They own the Mercedes-Benz dealership in West Palm Beach also, and I think they own one in Delray, or is that owned by AutoNation?
I don't think they own one in Delray.
But they own both Mercedes dealerships in Palm Beach County then, or 2 of the 3 in Palm Beach County. They come out of New Jersey area, I think. And when they opened the one in North Palm Beach, they didn't have a dealer fee. They didn't have a hidden fee. And that's a 6 in my mind.
Right.
And they were the only other dealer. And
I think they started with one, and then around that time they dropped it. And all the dealers started dropping.
They started with one, and then they dropped it, and they came back and did it again. So that's what sticks in my mind. Anyway, getting into the report, I just said, we've shopped about every kind of car dealer during this unprecedented inventory situation, which has lasted well over a year now. Whether at a small mom-and-pop shop or publicly owned mega dealers, our investigations have uncovered the same thing: huge markups over the manufacturer's suggested retail prices, unprecedented. It hasn't been much different when we shopped luxury brand dealers in the last few months. It seems that the special treatment normally provided to luxury brand shoppers doesn't extend to pricing during a supply chain crisis. And actually, I understand that because, the fat cats, the guys that'll pay anything for the best, I'm talking about, they don't care whether a Mercedes costs them $65,000 or $70,000. Is he sure? Not 70. Oh, 70,000. I'll write you out a check. That's what happens. All 3 luxury dealerships we investigated this year charged over MSRP, some higher than others. Wallace Cadillac wanted $5,000 over sticker. Bremen BMW tried to get $6,500. Only JM Lexus exhibited restraint and went just $399 over MSRP, plus $59 e-filing fee, junk fee, and we still don't know why they did that, but they were the best. Who cares if rich guys are getting ripped off? Well, yeah, people don't care. I mean, it's all a matter of percentages, and the rich guys, they don't care, and we don't care. No one really, but it's just the rich. It's not just rich folks who buy luxury cars. Now, this reminds me that Tesla, as I said last week on the show, Tesla is the #1 seller of luxury cars in the United States.
Probably the world.
And the world, I believe you're right.
In the world.
And so they don't mark them up over MSRP. You can order a Tesla at MSRP. Now, here's the irony. Tesla, Elon Musk, is making more money per car than anybody.
Yeah.
He's making, his markup is, I think, is 23%. I think the average dealer manufacturer is making 5 or 10%. It's just.
Do you think he really needs to charge a dealer fee? He's really
actually he does
pretty
charge,
bad off.
He does charge a dealer fee. He screwed me
with a dealer fee. He's living hand to mouth.
Yeah, right. I mean, I was really shocked. It's a small dealer fee. I think it was $200. $100. $100, yeah. And a small dealer fee, but I couldn't believe it. I'm buying this expensive Tesla Plaid, and he's got a nickel and dime me with a $100 dealer fee. Why?
200.
Why 200? Whatever it was. I'm a rich guy. I don't care what.
And
they
he
do.
hit it.
I don't care what they charge me. So who cares if rich guys are good on blah blah? And the average purchase price for a new car in 2022 is $46,000. That's amazing. I didn't know that.
Yep.
$46,000. I thought that was the average price of a car. Period. Lexus, Audi, Mercedes, BMW, Acura, all luxury brands have offerings under $50,000. So when Wallace Cadillac price gougers, it's not just the fat cats feeling it. Everybody is. That's true. Also, high prices on new luxury cars trickle down to high prices on used luxury cars, affecting an even greater swath of customers. Finally, we keep shopping luxury dealers because our listeners keep asking us to do it, and we're nothing if not responsive to our listeners. And I have to say, a lot of the listeners are semi-fat cats. I wouldn't say they're fat cats,
They're
but
doing well.
Yeah,
They've done well.
They're retired, and they're getting 3 meals a day. With that said, we turn our attention to Mercedes-Benz of North Palm Beach. The last time we were there was in January of 2019. It was a different world then, and our mission was different too. We were there to see if Mercedes-Benz of North Palm Beach would sell our shopper a used car with a defective airbag. And they did. They were willing to, and they did. This time, we're just trying to find out who can control themselves and be satisfied with MSRP. Report as if I were Agent Lightning. I arrived mid-morning and was promptly greeted by a young salesman named Malik, M-A-L-I-K.
I think it's Malik.
Malik?
Malik.
Malik. He asked me what brought me in. I said I wasn't 100% sure, but it had to be a hatchback or crossover with decent gas mileage. I had a GLS in mind, but I wanted to see what my salesman came up with. Malik said he thought the GLS 450 was exactly what I was looking for, and he walked me over to a model in the showroom. As he described the car and reviewed the features, I inspected the dealer supplemental price label affixed to the windshield, aka addendum label. It listed the MSRP as $90,455, and the market availability adjusted price was $105,455. That's a lot of cabbage. $105,000.
That's some coleslaw right there.
To drive to work and back. 105. Yeah. The warranty label was on the side window and confirmed that the MSRP was $90,455. Malik was extremely nice and professional. He asked me if I wanted any coffee or water. I declined, said then he offered me to get the keys so he could get the GLS out of the showroom for a test drive. He was back in a minute with a key. He handed it to another person who drove it out of the showroom. You got to be careful taking these cars out of the showroom.
Only trained professionals
Yeah,
can do
really,
this.
I mean, it makes me nervous to even think about it, but we got good drivers to do that. He was back in a minute with a key. He handed it to another person who drove it out of the showroom. Funny, I flash back when you say that. Do you feel the same way? I'm thinking of mayhem. Not just dented fenders, but
scratches on the sides as you
or
get out of the
libel
car.
suits, people running over
desks.
I mean,
now I've driven past this dealership. They have a big showroom,
Yeah.
a lot of cars on the inside, so it looks like it's easy to get in and out.
Yeah,
but
I know, yeah.
It's not always though.
Yeah. Malik made great conversation on the drive. We talked about the current state of the car business, even electric cars, which Malik thought were great, but impractical for traveling. And again, I reflect back on salespeople. What is a great salesperson? A great salesperson is a nice person, a nice woman, a nice man. You know a nice person when you're in Publix or where you're in Costco. When you meet somebody on the street, you get a warm, fuzzy feeling. It's the way they look, the way they walk, the way they talk, the way they treat you. And you folks out there, if you're a nice person, you would make a great salesperson. The parking attendant,
I guess I wasn't nice enough.
the valet parker downtown, when Nancy and I go downtown, we use this valet parker down there, and I don't even know his name. He's such a nice guy. I'm going to ask him if he wants to sell cars, because I love the guy, and he smiles and makes me happy.
He's
makes
an
Nancy
angel.
happy. I mean, it's just a nice, and Malik is a nice person. He also said that the Mercedes availability was starting to improve a little. He said, as this continues, their prices will come down, and they'll be able to do away with the market adjustments. It was just a matter of time. Okay. Malik said that the GLS was still very hard to get, and that's why it's marked up $15,000 over MSRP. So
That's so hard to.
well, it's true. I mean,
It's true. It seems it's so
true.
absurd.
Yeah, it's
It's true but absurd.
I mean, but see, truth is important, and Malik was truthful.
Yes.
I told him it's much better than the Napleton salesman that says, "Look, if you don't buy this car,
Right.
you see that guy coming in, he's going to buy it. Someone will buy it. If you don't want to buy it, I'm going to sell it to."
And,
I like
and,
what
and it'll
Malik-
cost more tomorrow.
Yeah, I like what Malik says. We got a lot of orders and only a few cars, and this is $15,000 more. That's why. I told him I'd like to see some numbers when we get back. We returned and found a desk. Blake gathered my info and entered it into his computer. He suggested he could email the numbers to me because his GSM was off. General Sales Manager, that's the desk man, also known as today, and he seems to get a better number from him. Interesting to me that the manager's off. Tells me a little bit about
Well, the GSM.
GSM, yeah, but
What,
but I mean, any manager typically in a dealership would give them the price, and the GSM was not there.
I think he says this is not unusual in a car dealership. That they have salespeople have their favorite managers.
Yeah.
The
Oh,
easier
that's true.
manager,
Yeah.
the nicer manager,
Yeah.
the manager that's weaker, that gives will fall. Will
Yeah, that's very true.
will drop his pants.
Yeah. He suggested he could email the numbers to me because his GSM was off, but that's unusual to email the numbers. A lot of car dealerships, they don't want you to email the numbers because they don't want to put it in writing. So things are looking interesting here. Malik agreed, said he'd be back shortly, returned in 4 minutes with a worksheet. They went for the full Megillah, $105,455. That was the adjusted market price, plus $295 in taxable junk fees. Which is also a hidden fee, plus $995 dock fee. That's a hidden junk fee. Mercedes-Benz of North Palm Beach wanted $16,290 over MSRP for this 2022 GLS Mercedes 450. Malik explained that because of the rarity of this vehicle, the price was firm. I laughed and said he was so nice and so professional, but I can't imagine paying $16,000 over sticker, period. And Malik said he didn't blame me. That's empathy. That's
person.
Fake or otherwise, it's nice. Malik is just a nice guy. I stayed and walked and talked to Malik for a while longer. I asked about hybrids, and he spoke highly of Toyotas. I told him that's unusual, speaking highly of your competition. I told him I'd considered a hybrid Highlander. Malik said he had friends, used to have friends.
Right.
Wait till you hear the rest of this. Malik used to have friends at Southern 441 Toyota, and he could call to check their inventory. But instead, he suggested I go around the corner. Now, we're not making this up, folks. And I blush when I say this, and I get nervous.
And I got nervous about typing this, and I know you wouldn't want to read it.
I know Stu knows that.
Tell everybody how smart you are.
So, but Malik said he suggested I go around the corner to Earl Stewart Toyota because he's heard nothing but good things about them. He said Earl Stewart didn't have markup or dealer fees, which is true. Now, I hate to talk about this because, first of all, I'm slapping myself on the back. I'm telling the world that we don't charge over MSRP and we don't charge hidden fees. Our out-the-door price is our MSRP. I feel guilty about that because that's a lot of money. And we make a lot of profit in MSRP, but we don't make thousands more than that, which is what Mercedes of North Palm Beach is doing. And here we have Malik recommending mystery shopper to Earl Stewart Toyota. So it brings tears to my eyes. I can barely complete this mystery shopping report.
Earl loves Malik.
I have tears in my eyes. Malik walked me to my car under his umbrella. Under his umbrella. I told him when I did decide on a Benz, Mercedes-Benz, I would certainly come back to see him, and she would, and I would, and I think a lot of people would. And isn't it ironic, and it was not, sounds made up, that Stu read anonymous feedback about somebody else that talked about the fact that we're the only dealer that does not charge hidden fees or mark up their cars over MSRP. And here we have a competitive salesperson from a mystery shopping report confirming that fact. If I was listening to the show, I would think it was a setup and this is really an infomercial, but it's not. You gotta believe me. It's not. It's just the real world and the way it happened.
Waiting for some grades to come in.
Yes.
I'm inclined to give a C for Mercedes-Benz of North Palm Beach and an A for Malik for his being an awesome human being. I do have one coming in from Bob. Bob says F for Mercedes-Benz North Palm Beach, but you should hire Malik. That's I would agree with that. All right, you got any grades coming in over there on YouTube, Rick?
I've got, let's see here, Mark Anderson. Originally gave him a D, and then he said revised to a B because of Malik.
Hey.
Tim Gilliland, they were straightforward but exorbitant market adjustment, the C. Over here, Kirk in West by God, Virginia, truthful salesman, but 15K ADM and junk fees, A+ for recommending Earl, overall grade of C. Negan, C- for nice but no buy.
No buy.
That's what I've got so far.
All right, Dog Walker Dave, Malik gets an A, Dealer gets a C, and Andrew on Facebook says high price but clearly stated. It's a B. All right.
And
what do you think?
I want to give him the highest grade we've given a Mercedes dealer. What would that be?
Well, we don't have very many, but while you're thinking, I'll look it up.
because I certainly would recommend Malik, and I say the only problem is we'll probably try to hire Malik. So attention, you better give Malik a raise because we're after him.
Well, it's not going to be hard to do. Here's the current grades. We only have 2 Mercedes dealers on the list. We have Mercedes-Benz of Delray. It's a C-, and Mercedes-Benz of North Palm Beach is a C- currently.
That's AutoNation, by the way, in Delray.
Okay, but the currently North Palm Mercedes is on there with a C-, so we're going to improve it.
Yeah.
How much?
I'd say C+.
C+, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've got Brian Sidlatko. I'm going to give him a C. Mark Ryan, A for the sales representative, F for the dealership. So issued grade of C+. And let's see, James Sheeman says salesman was great. Didn't give a grade, but he says he liked Malik.
Give him a G.
So
for grade.
For me, I'm going to go ahead with, I'm going to say the C+ for the dealership because they at least had enough common sense to get a guy like Malik in there.
Yeah. Yeah. Nancy?
Well, to your statement about the rich not caring, my question is, how did the rich get rich? But that answer might be for another show. For the dealership, I give them an F, and for the salesman, I give him an A++.
Maybe I should start a recommended list for salespeople, but the turnover is so great that that might not be worth the effort. But we have had. I remember we had a dealer a long time ago. We had an extraordinary salesperson in Delray. I think it was at a Chevrolet dealership, which tells me that the salesperson you talk to is very important. When you go to the car dealership, if you're not happy with that salesperson, if the chemistry isn't there, ask for another salesperson. I know most of you won't follow that advice. People are too polite, and you don't want to hurt somebody's feeling. But if you really want the best leverage you can, be sure to get a salesperson that you feel comfortable with. And if that's true if you're a woman and you'd rather have a woman salesperson, or if you happen to be Hispanic, you'd rather have Spanish-speaking salesperson. But it also goes to if you feel, you feel good about it. If he makes you feel good, then you're likely to get a better.
Yeah.
You're less afraid to ask hard questions of someone that's not going to get smarter with you.
And don't feel too bad, because usually if you switch salespeople, the salesperson that you left, it happens. It goes around and comes around, and typically a dealer will split the commission with the person who started off with, so there's something there for them. So you're not really hurting anybody's feelings.
And the dealer wants to sell the car. The manager wants to sell the car. So they'll cooperate with you to keep you there, because if you imply you might not stay around,
They don't care who you buy the car from, as long as you're buying it there.
they'll pick out who you want. So pick out who you want for a salesperson.
Absolutely.
More great advice.
Okay. Where are we? We're going to wrap it up?
We got 3 minutes, and we're sitting there with nothing to do.
Okay. Anybody got a deck of cards?
I got some information. Here, listen. I was reading all sorts of automotive, not automotive news, but about the automotive industry. You hear about the IIHS crash tests for the Jeep Wranglers?
No.
On the offset crash test, they're flipping over again. That happened like 10 years ago. They had like your favorite vehicle, the Jeep Wrangler, Dad, is flipping over in the crash test.
Those Jeeps look so good, and they're so exciting.
And the way they slide on the side is.
I like it when they slide. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. You are a great part of the show, and we enjoy your company.